Today we're headed up to Rhode Island to the Revival Motoring headquarters for the Fingertight Motorsport Invitational.
Who's there? Connecting rod. That's good.
Pretty honored to have been invited out to this. So honored, I even went and got the R detailed yesterday, which is totally unlike me. We're all shined up, looking all nice. If you aren't familiar with Revival Motoring, definitely recommend checking them out. It is a podcast and magazine, not specific to any brand, as I like to describe them. They're equal opportunity enthusiasts. You know, they've covered everything from a slammed C10 pickup to a wheel refinishing shop. So if you like what I kind of do with this channel, kind of do a little variety of car versus person and sometimes a shop or two, you're definitely going to want to check this brand out. They're one of the only print magazines left nowadays, so, you know, aside from a couple of big ones, but even those are starting to die out and switching to online and stuff. So they're very adamant about keeping print alive, which is awesome. I've never been a big magazine person myself, but I bought a few of their magazines and nothing but quality in there. But again, definitely check out the podcast, check out their Instagrams, both Fingertight and Revival Motoring. The three of these guys on Revival are just absolutely hilarious. Last week's episode, I was literally in tears from laughing so hard.
5.2. There's a 5.2 with a Predator motor. It's not please have a seat.
Engine code Pedo.
What else?
What's the Predator coming?
Newer models only.
I'll probably link that one in this description. If you're anything like me or them, you don't really care as much about the new car news because we eat, sleep, and breathe these old cars. And I've never quite found a way to easily digest new car news. But these guys do a very good job of making it entertaining and giving you more or less what you need to know, and plenty of what you don't need to know. We should see a nice mix of cars up there today. Definitely a nice Volkswagen or 3. So we'll get at least one car featured in this video too.
Crazy Man Rolls Bus.
Guess.
You tell about it.
What do you want to know about it? It's a Mark II. It's an 89. Came from a Long Island. Yes, this car is white.
I guess this is gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, it did come from Long Island. Old guy had it. He was the first owner. He passed away, and his son-in-law lived a couple towns over from us and brought it to our friend's shop. And then they were just trying to like figure out what needed to be done with it to get it back on the road or what it was worth. And he wanted it to kind of go to a good home or like auto school or something. And so our friend that's a mechanic at the shop, you know, let us know about it. And Nick was like, "You ready for your first Mark II?"
The plan was always to just like restore it into a decent vehicle. And I guess it just kind of went out of hand and turned into let's make it as new as possible.
Like a while you're in there
Yeah,
dilemma?
while I'm in there. There's a rot hole in the
We just
rocker
got a
on
new
this side.
fender.
The rear arches were rotted.
Here,
It
I had to get
probably-
it inspected. There was a nice piece of vinyl
We
here.
just put white vinyl on
There's
the
a big fucking hole.
wall. So I mean, it lived in salt climate.
Because both the road salt and
Yeah.
the
I mean,
ocean.
it has so little miles on it. When we bought it, it had 41,000 miles on it. So I mean, it's a low mileage car. The guy was a million years old. He probably drove it maybe once or twice a week, if that, to the grocery store. I assume it was garaged, but I doubt it was ever washed.
Right.
This one was like the most base model of the base model. It had no radio. It did have AC, which we took out.
Yeah, it had
power
AC,
steering.
power steering.
But like, yeah, it didn't even have, we were talking about this earlier, it didn't even have the wiring for the radio. It didn't have speakers in the door cards. Like it had the factory radio delete. So it was definitely, you know, the economy car of the time.
Yeah. So what do you guys have done under the hood now in terms of the drivetrain?
So when we painted it, we put a different motor in it because that motor was, I mean, it was fine, but wanted a little bit more. And since it was apart, we did an ABA bottom end and then 268 cam, Tectonics chip and knock sensor spacer. And that's pretty much about it. Like I did a ABA SERP setup because V-belts are dumb. Engine-wise, that's pretty much all that's done to it.
I've said it before, but like this is the magic combination. ABA bottom with the solid lifter head, or this would have a hydro head,
Yeah,
right?
this is a
Hydraulic
hydro
lifter
head,
head,
yep.
but like the old Mark 1, Mark 2 head.
And I mean, it was a digi car. It's a super early digi car, so it still has the CIS water neck on the front, but it's a digi car, so it's got a weird coolant sensor that's like screw in, but has the 2-pin plug. Pretty weird little things that this car has that are like that only happened in the early digi cars that were built in the U.S. That whole factory was let's throw random parts together to make
Right, just kind of
shit
like a
anywhere.
leftover parts bin
And
build.
It was literally in the end months of
How
the
do you
factory's life.
How do you like the Digi coming from like, you know, your other cars ITBs?
Never really learned what to do with CIS. Like it's wrapping my brain around it was a mess. And Digi's so freaking simple. Like
Right.
it is as simple as it gets until you get to the Motronic stuff in ABAs.
I've heard the same about Digi though before. I've heard other people say like they really love Digi because it really is just so simple.
Super simple. And it's easy to troubleshoot and it rarely doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't have the stupid fuel distributor
Yeah.
like the freaking stupid ass CIS. I hate CIS. I just hate it.
Yeah.
When it works, great. It's
when it
great.
works, it's great, but as soon as it doesn't work, good luck finding out why.
Or going broke trying to
Yeah.
throw parts at it. Would you say it's kind of done? If not, like, what's the next big thing?
I can't currently think of anything to do to this. I don't like the header that's on this. It's
Yeah.
a cheap eBay header.
We had to modify it pretty heavily to get it to fit though
Yeah.
onto the bolt, like onto the actual bolts.
I
on
mean,
the actual
in
motor.
hindsight, I should have just bought the Tectonics one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tectonics is the way to go, and I swear by them. But it's just tough to drop essentially the half the cost of the car on your
More
header
than the car.
because
It's $500.
We paid $500 for the car for a 41,000 mile 89 Golf. The guy had it listed for $600, and when we went and we were gonna pay him the $600, he's like, "You guys seem like you're good folks, and you're gonna really take care of this. I'll take $5."
Yeah.
and boy
awesome.
did they ever.
Yeah.
Can we get your
Definitely
analysis?
a motor in that thing. It's a beautiful
Chuck knows everything about Volkswagen.
4 cylinders, couple liters there.
Yeah, there are a couple liters there.
I see an intake
Yep.
Throttle by.
There's headlights.
Headlights.
All right, aside from the header, like you already did the paint, you did a lot of work. Is there anything major in store for it, or would you consider it mostly done?
This is pretty much done for now, until I find something else. The whole direction I've taken with both of the vehicles is I find whatever's the current ugliest thing and make it not ugly. So until I find the next ugliest thing.
Well, like you mentioned on the podcast the other week, you tried to build it the way you felt it should have came from the factory, right?
Yeah, like there are little things that
Like the valve cover.
I've taken time to make look factory, but better than factory. So this is
The G60
a G60 cover,
But
but because it's an ABA, it has the taller timing covers. So I trimmed off the G60 has a round timing cover on the end. I trimmed it and smoothed it to look like this side, and then modified the ABA inner cover to fit around it.
Put the same G60 cover on one of my motors once, and I'm like, that big rounded thing looks terrible.
Bracket for the power steering pump, I shortened it because we went with a smaller battery. Ended up cutting an inch out of that bracket and welding it all back in so that this still sits tight against the battery.
That's the little stuff that makes it a build, in my opinion, because people always try to, I like your build when they're talking about the sports. And I'm like, I never consider that a build.
Right.
So what's your favorite part about the car then?
This
I
one?
guess both of you.
I don't know. I really don't know. Like
Okay.
I picture it as a whole. Like it is the end result of a vision. That the vision is my favorite part of the car, and that as it fits into that idea, that's what I like the most about it.
for me, I would say that the obvious answer is driving it, but the thing that I actually love the most about it, like the detail, I guess, is that it doesn't have a tack, it has a clock.
Oh, that's a true poverty spec right there.
Right. I don't
In
know
a
if
sense,
think
it
that-
connects you more to the car.
Exactly, because I'm never thinking about, like, you talk about your, power band and your Mark II, like, at this RPM I have this, and whatever, like, because you've done analysis on it and you've had it on the dyno and all these things, where I'm like, well, when it kind of feels like that, I shift again. Which sounds ridiculous, but like, I don't know, it endears me to the car in a different way.
It really is the poverty spec.
Yeah, like it came with
No
a
radio, that's very rare you get.
You can't find that radio delete plate.
I was chatting with Scotty about it, and he's like, he battled to find one because not only is it a Mark II,
Oh, you guys still have no radio in here?
Yeah.
it has the delete plate. It's got a Bluetooth head unit made for boats to
Right.
4-speaker setup. And then there's this little switch blank
Yeah.
that is a power, next track, back track, and then volume.
That's awesome.
And it's Bluetooth.
So we can just get in, she like hits play on her phone and it's
But that's the little shit that makes it that much better. Like, I really didn't want to spend the money on that Retro Sounds one, but when I put it in, I'm like, yeah, this was the right thing to do, because now the dash still isn't cut and it looks factory.
because we took the center console out and did the short diesel console, it no longer has the cigarette lighter.
Right. Oh, I see it
So
down there. I see
I just
it.
took it and plugged it in down here.
Right. Yeah.
And it's still lighted and everything, so it
And like,
OEM Plus, people. Or what'd you call it? OEM?
Stock Plus.
Oh.
After doing the seats, so we wanted to tie in the whole red stripe thing. So when I did the seats, I did a red stitch, double stitch down the center and side, which are
Yeah, by the way, the interior is all homemade.
Yep.
That's crazy.
it's
Also
like
asymmetrical, which is cool.
fabric.
Wanted to tie in the whole red stripe thing, and had like priced out red seat belts, which are super
tacky.
expensive and they look tacky. And then I found a source for seatbelt material.
So you just have to like pin in your little shit, like the stopper part and stuff.
Yeah.
Where's this from?
There's a guy.
In the Ukraine? Wherever
I found a post in my like random shit on Instagram. The like little here's random shit that you might like. This guy in Russia. His name's Yakov something or other, and I sent him a message, hey, do you ship those? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I have never shipped stuff to the US. And I was like, cool, I want to buy one. Okay. I was like, so how much? He's like, I could do them for like $100. I was like, okay, cool. Like, how much to ship it? He's like, I don't know. If you buy more, it'll be less. So I went out to all the people that I knew that were Mark II people that still had rain trays. Hey, do you want to give me $120 that you may never see again to possibly get this? Sending the guy like $1,400 and was like, maybe I'll see this again or not. Like I had to walk him through setting up a PayPal account because he was like, I don't know what PayPal is. A week and a half later, I get 12 of these fucking trays and I'm like, bet.
I really like them because like they
All right, tell us about the car then.
So here we have a 1991 Volkswagen Jetta. I've had it for 19 years. It's a piece of fucking shit. It just has an ABA. I had this idea. It's an ugly engine. No one really likes them. 2.0.
I love them.
Okay, well, most
It's a
people
proven
don't.
recipe.
Most people don't. I had this idea. Let's make it black. Maybe it'll hide its ugliness. So I have a variety of textures: gloss, lots of powder coat, wrinkle. Yippity yap. Shaved about 100 holes, but tried to keep the stock lines of the car. I suppose the theme is OEM plus. Would you call it that? I don't know.
I call it OEM plus because of the wheels. That's what makes me appreciate this car a lot, is because you didn't just slap wheels on, because these wheels truly wouldn't just fit on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it takes work to slap something
I've
like
had
these
a number
on.
of sets of wheels. I'm not a wheel whore by any means. I know you've established that you're not a wheel person. I really wasn't either. I really want a car to perform. There's a fine line between making a showpiece and a car that's usable. So trying to balance the two. Obviously people can take a car much further than this, but I wanted a car that I could get in and drive to Georgia if I want. Not that I want to anymore. So I've had a number of wheels. I've bumped up to bigger wheels. They're 16 by 8 and 9. I've narrowed the front and rear suspension so that I can have actual proper sized tires, not rubber bands. Well, at least by today's standards. So yeah, it has narrower control arms, tie rods, and axles. And in the rear, I've narrowed the rear beam. It actually handles very well considering
You actually put in work to make it all fit.
Lots of work, lots of measuring, lots of error, a lot of trial and error, a lot more error than trial. Yeah, there are 215s in the back. Doesn't sound like a lot, but on these little cars, that's a lot of tire to not have trash can lid arches.
Yep. Well, I mean, with the sport truck, I had 205 40 somethings, and yeah, you that's it.
Right.
That's it before you start poking or rubbing.
Yep. So it doesn't rub at all.
And it tucks them. So that says a lot about how much you had to really narrow.
Yeah. It's actually a good amount of cutting. Again, it's years of fucking around, just from talking to people, whatnot. But it's not just about suspension. It actually drives very well. It handles very well. I painted it 3 different times. It was originally Indiana red, and then I did it a white with a blue pearl when I had it on ATS cups for a number of years when I first kind of brought it out onto the circuit, so to speak. And then my great friend VW Jody, who lives up past Burlington, Vermont, helped me paint it an RE silver. Fuck, it's been 10 years now. And
With this current paint job.
Yep, it's held up very well. Nothing has been painted in 10 years.
What's your favorite and least favorite part about the car?
Favorite part has to be the Mark II dash and Digifizz and everything, all the little different Mark II tidbits. It's sacrilegious to say, but I'm more of a Mark II person. I've just happened to have this car a long time. And at the time that when I bought the car in 2001, it had no dash. And coincidentally, I just went to the junkyard. At that time, the BMW E30 dashes and Mark II dashes were popular. And it wasn't that much work to put it into, to retrofit it, I suppose is the right term, into the car. So coincidentally, out of necessity, that's what I put into the car. And it's just kind of been in there since. The only negative to a Mark II dash is smokers' windows do not work correctly, because if you open them, they will hit that corner of the dash. You have to open the door.
It's gonna hit the dash, yeah.
But
so then, what's your least favorite part about the car?
My least favorite part, I would say, is the engine now, because I did this in 05. At the time, it was either this or 16 valve on carbs. And for many, many years, I've been torn. What swap? What swap? How do I move forward? Now, it's certainly nothing to write home about. It's no 1.8T swap, but it's
drivable. The drivability, you have to pick a balance.
Drivable, and for most driving, back road 60, even on the highway 80, I have a tall fifth gear with a Mark III tranny. It certainly gets the job done. Just, it doesn't have the wow factor of all the engines of today, but that's fine. I'm only answering the question. The most important part has been all the friends that you make through this. The friends that you make, the relationships you make, the nights of anguish, the ups and downs. I've done things 10 times over, every single thing on this car 10 times over, because it's been so many years. And again, the talks that you have about, oh, what kind of bolt and hardware and shoulder should I put here, and obsessing over those little details. That's what it's really about. It's not about winning any horse shit. Who cares about that stuff? It's about the friends that you make and the journey, the path to success, or whatever we all deem as success. As Michael might deem, might be different from myself. But the most important thing is having fun with it. The fun factor is what matters. Would you agree, Michael?
That is a very...
Right? It is the
That's
fun
a very great way to put it.
It's the fun factor. So, yeah.
Some of the best people I've met.
Exactly.
Toby.
Yeah.